Assalamu alaikum, my name is Muhammad Noor Aiman bin YUSRI. Now, I want to present a video about supply chain course and will discuss its focus topic is called supply chain drivers and metrics. In this topic, firstly we'll discuss the linked key financial measures of firm performance to supply chain performance. Next, introduce the driver in supply chain consist with 3 logistical drivers and another 3 cross-functional drivers that determine the performance of any supply chain. We discuss how these drivers are used in the design, planning, and operation of the supply chain. We define several metrics that can be used to gauge the performance of each driver and its impact on financial performance. Firstly, go to financial measures of performance. Financial performance is a subjective measure of how well a firm can use assets from its primary mode of business and generate revenues. The term is also used as a general measure of a firm's overall financial health over a given period. Analysts and investors use financial performance to compare similar firms across the same industry or to compare industries or sectors in aggregate. In this section, we define important financial measures that are reported by a firm and affected by supply chain performance. In later sections, we link supply chain drivers and associated metrics to the various financial measures. First, what is return on equity, ROA? Return on equity, ROA, is a measure of financial performance calculated by dividing net income by shareholders' equity. Because shareholders' equity is equal to a company's assets minus its debt, ROA is considered the return on net assets. ROA is considered a gauge of a corporation's profitability and how efficient it is in generating profits. The higher the ROA, the more efficient a company's management is at generating income and growth from its equity financing. Second, what is return on assets, ROA? The term return on assets, ROA, refers to a financial ratio that indicates how profitable a company is in relation to its total assets. Corporate management, analysts, and investors can use ROA to determine how efficiently a company uses its assets to generate a profit. The metric is commonly expressed as a percentage by using a company's net income and its average assets. A high ROA means a company is more efficient and productive at managing its balance sheet to generate profits, while a low ROA indicates there is room for improvement. Third, what is accounts payable turnover, APT? The accounts payable turnover is a ratio to measures how quickly a business makes payments to creditors and suppliers that extend lines of credit. On a company's balance sheet, the accounts payable turnover ratio is a key indicator of its liquidity and how it is managing cash flow. To calculate accounts payable turnover ratios is by dividing a business total cost of goods sold by its average accounts payable balance during the same period. Fourth, what is a profit margin? In accounting and finance, a profit margin is a measure of a company's earnings, or profits, relative to its revenue. When assessing the profitability of a company, there are 3 primary margin ratios to consider. Gross profit margin equals gross profit divided by revenue times 100. Operating profit margin equals operating profit divided revenue times 100. Net profit margin equals net income divided by revenue times 100. Fifth, the asset turnover ratio measures how effectively a company uses its assets to generate revenue or sales. Asset turnover ratio equals net sales divided by average total assets. Sixth, accounts receivable turnover is the number of times per year that a business collects its average accounts receivable. The ratio is used to evaluate the ability of a company to efficiently issue credit to its customers and collect funds from them in a timely manner. Accounts receivables turnover is equal with net annual credit sales divided by average accounts receivables. Seventh, is the inventory turnover ratio. It's also known as the stock turnover ratio. This ratio measures how efficiently inventory is managed. The inventory turnover ratio formula is equal to the cost of goods sold divided by total or average inventory to show how many times inventory is turned or sold during a period. Lastly, another useful metric is the cash-to-cash (C2C) cycle, which roughly measures the average amount of time from when cash enters the process as cost to when it returns as collected revenue. C2C equals negative weeks payable plus weeks in inventory plus weeks receivable. Next, go to drivers of supply chain performance. Among the driver are facilities. Facilities is the physical locations in the supply chain network where product is stored, assembled, or fabricated. Inventory is all raw materials, work in process, and finished goods within a supply chain. Transportation is the moving inventory from point to point in the supply chain. Information is data and analysis concerning facilities, inventory, transportation, costs, prices, and customers throughout the supply chain. Sourcing is who will perform a particular supply chain activity. Lastly is pricing. Pricing is how much a firm will charge for the goods and services that it makes available in the supply chain can be concluded. The facilities, inventory, and transportation is under logistical drivers, while information, sourcing and pricing are under cross-functional drivers. Next we'll discuss further for each supply chain driver. The first driver is facility. Facilities include all locations in the supply chain to store, assemble, or fabricate inventory. Decisions regarding location, capacity, and flexibility of facilities significantly affect supply chain performance. A facility is a place where inventory is stored, manufactured or assembled, hence facilities can be categorized into production facilities and storage facilities. Role in the supply chain. The where of the supply chain within a facility. Inventory is either transformed into another state, manufacturing, or it is stored, warehouses. Role in the competitive strategy, economies of scale, efficiency priority. Black circle larger number of smaller facilities, responsiveness priority. Components of facilities decisions is firstly the role. For production facility, firms must decide whether they will be flexible, dedicated or a combination of two. Flexible capacity can be used for many types of product, whereas dedicated capacity can be used for only a limited number of products. Location, where a company will locate, whether to centralize or decentralize. Centralize in order to get economics of scale or decentralize to become more responsive by being closer to the customer. Capacity, determine a facility's capacity to perform its intended function. Next, the second driver is inventory. Inventory is stockage exists in all supply chains because of a mismatch between supply and demand. Inventory plays a significant role in a supply chain's ability to support a firm's competitive strategy. Increasing inventory gives higher responsiveness but results in higher inventory carrying cost. Role in supply chain, material flow time elapsed between when material enters the supply chain to when it exits the supply chain. Throughput, rate at which sales to end consumers occur. Inventory and flow time are synonymous in a supply chain because throughput is often determined by customer demand. Role in competitive strategy, form, location, and quantity of inventory allow a supply chain to range from being very low cost to very responsive. Components of inventory cycle. Inventory, it is the average amount of inventory used to satisfy demand between receipts of supplier shipments. The size of cycle inventory is a result of the production, transportation, or purchase of material in large lots. Black circle safety inventory, it is held to counter against uncertainty or variability of demand. It is the inventory held in case demand exceeds expectations. It is held to counter uncertainty. Seasonal inventory, it is inventory maintained to satisfy higher demands in a period compared to production capacity. It arises due to the decision to service predicted variability in demand through extra production during slack period or low demand periods. Third driver is transportation. Transportation moves the product between different stages in a supply chain. Like the other supply chain drivers, transportation has a large impact on both responsiveness and efficiency. Role of transportation in supply chain strategy is moves the product between stages in the supply chain, impact on responsiveness and efficiency. Faster transportation allows greater responsiveness but lower efficiency and also affects the facilities and inventory. Next, the transportation roles in competitive strategy. The role is, allows a firm to adjust the location of its facilities and inventory to find the right balance between responsiveness and efficiency. If responsiveness is a strategic competitive priority, then faster transportation modes can provide greater responsiveness to customers who are willing to pay for it. The components of transportation is choice of transportation mode. The mode of transportation is the manner in which a product is moved from one location to another in supply chain network. Companies can choose between air, truck, rail, ship, pipeline as modes of transportation. All the modes vary in cost, speed, size of shipment and flexibility. Black circle design of transportation network. The transportation network is the collection of transportation modes, locations and routes along which product can be shipped. A company must decide whether transportation from a supply source will be direct to the demand point or will go through intermediate consolidation point. The fourth supply chain drivers is information. Information is important driver that companies have used to become both more efficient and more responsive. Information deeply affects every part of the supply chain and impacts every other driver. Good information on supply and demand can help improve the utilization and responsiveness of a facility. The information roles in supply chain is the connection between the various stages in the supply chain, allows coordination between stages. Crucial to daily operation of each stage in a supply chain, example to do production scheduling and inventory levels. Roles in competitive strategy allows supply chain to become more efficient and more responsive at the same time, improves visibility of transactions and coordination of decisions across the supply chain. Components of information: push versus pull. Push system generally require information in the form of elaborate material requirements planning systems to take the master production schedules for suppliers with part types, quantities and delivery dates. Pull system require information on actual demand to be transmitted extremely quickly throughout the entire chain so that production and distribution of products may reflect the real demand accurately. Coordination and information sharing. Supply chain coordination occurs when all stages of a supply chain work toward the objective of maximizing total supply chain profitability based on shared information. It requires each stage to share appropriate information with other stages. Sales and operations planning. The process of creating an overall supply plan or inventory to meet the anticipated level of sale or demand. Enabling technologies. Many technologies exist to share and analyze information in the supply chain. Among the technologies such as 1. Electronic data interchange, ADI, 2. The Internet, 3. Enterprise resource planning, ERP, systems, 4. Supply chain management, SCM, software, 5. Radio frequency identification, RFID. The fifth driver is sourcing. Sourcing is the set of business process required to purchase goods and services. Managers must decide which task will be outsourced and those that will be performed within the firm. The roles of sourcing in supply chain are: set of business processes required to purchase goods and services in a supply chain, supplier selection, single versus multiple suppliers, contract negotiation. And the roles in competitive strategy. Sourcing decisions are crucial because they affect the level of efficiency and responsiveness in a supply chain. In-house vs outsource decisions. Improving efficiency and responsiveness. Keep responsive process in-house to maintain control. The sourcing components, in-house or outsource decisions. The most significant sourcing decision for a firm is whether to perform a task in-house or outsource it to a third party. Supplier evaluation and selection. Managers must decide on the number of suppliers they will have for a particular activity. Procurement process. Procurement is the process in which the supplier sends product in response to customer orders. Managers must decide on the structure of procurement of direct as well as indirect materials, and strategic as well as general materials. The sixth driver is pricing. Pricing is the process by which a firm decides how much to charge customers for its goods and service. Pricing affects the customer segments that choose to buy the product, as well as the customer's expectations. Roles of pricing in supply chain strategy is: pricing determines the amount to charge customers in a supply chain. Pricing strategies can be used to match demand and supply. Roles in competitive strategy. Firms can utilize optimal pricing strategies to improve efficiency and responsiveness. Pricing strategies vary to meet different customer responsiveness requirements. Pricing components, pricing and economies of scale. Most supply chain activities display economies of scale. Changeovers make small production runs more expensive per unit than large production runs. Everyday low pricing versus high-low pricing. Different pricing strategies lead to different demand profiles that the supply chain must serve. Fixed price versus menu pricing. A firm must decide whether it will charge a fixed price for its supply chain activities or have a menu with prices that vary with some other attributes such as response time or location of delivery. And lastly, define the key metrics that track the performance of the supply chain in terms of each driver. First, facility-related metrics are capacity, utilization, theoretical flow, cycle time of production, actual flow, cycle time, flow time efficiency, product variety, processing, setup, down, idle time, and average production batch size. Inventory-related metrics are average inventory, products with more than a specified number of days of inventory, average replenishment batch size, average safety inventory, seasonal inventory, fill rate, and fraction of time out of stock. Transportation-related metrics are average inbound transportation cost, average incoming shipment size, average inbound transportation cost per shipment, average outbound transportation cost, average outbound shipment size, average outbound transportation cost per shipment, and fraction transported by mode. Information-related metrics are forecast horizon, forecast error, seasonal factors, variance from plan, and ratio of demand variability to order variability. Sourcing-related metrics are days payable outstanding, average purchase price, range of purchase price, average purchase quantity, fraction on time deliveries, supply quality, and supply lead time. And lastly, pricing-related metrics are profit margin, days sales outstanding, incremental fixed cost per order, incremental variable cost per unit, average sale price, average order size, range of sale price, and range of periodic sales. The end, and thank you.